to Chef AJ Live. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. We're getting the kitchen in order because we have a cooking demo for you today with somebody who I'm just meeting. He's from Richmond, Virginia, where one of our previous guests, Derek Treesize, was also from. And his kitchen looks beautiful, and he seems like a really nice guy. You guys probably already know who he is. I just tend not to know who these young people are anymore. I'm an old lady now, but I know I'm going to like him, and I know we're going to be friends. And his name is Plant Based Gabriel, and he's going to tell you his story. So welcome, Gabriel. Thanks so much for doing this.
Well, thank you for having me. We've got the kitchen set up, and I just got to say that I've had a lot of people who are on my page message me that, hey, you got to go on Chef AJ's interview show. But beyond that, probably more importantly, and definitely more importantly, is my mom and dad watch every single one of your interviews. So this is, she's like, are you gonna be on Chef AJ? I said, yes, yeah, I think so.
Well, that's because your mom is probably closer to my age. I hope they're watching now. If you are parents of Gabriel, please say something. Robert Cheek is watching. That's all I care about is Robert Cheek watches.
Very cool, very cool. But no, I wanted to bring you in the kitchen and make one of my all-time favorite recipes, which is my easy 3-2-1 bean burgers. And it's a really simple recipe and one that has been a big help to myself as I adopted a plant-based diet, but my family as well. So.
Yeah, Judy says Gabriel was one of the first people I started following when I got into whole food plant-based last year. What were your parents' names in case I recognize them on the feed?
It'll be Stephanie Miller will be the one. She would be the one.
Thank you.
Yes, but yeah, if people don't know already, I was a college football player. I was a starting long snapper at the University of Nebraska, and I was studying livestock production, Chef AJ. So I actually, you've had Howard on, and actually Robert Cheek has a similar background, but I have a 4-year degree in breeding, feeding, fattening, slaughtering, slicing, and serving every animal that old McDonald ever dreamed of. And it's not something that I'm proud of, but it's a big part of my past and something that I know is relevant to a lot of listeners who may have a similar background or have that special someone who says they could never go without eating meat or eat a plant-based diet.
I love that you have that in your past because it makes it even more powerful that you're vegan now.
Yeah, it's quite the transformation. But I was, like I said, I was a starting long snapper at Nebraska and had a career-ending back injury and found myself at 19 coming out of a 6.5-hour back surgery, 100 pounds overweight, and wondering if I would really ever be able to live a normal life again or be able to hold my future child or do things that you hope to do when you're an adult.
Well, you don't look quite yet like an adult. You look like you just maybe got out of college.
I am 25 right now. So I'm working my way towards adulthood, I guess you could say.
Oh my God, you guys they're just getting younger every day. But I love that so many young people are doing this now. When I was 25, I think it was me, so thank you very much. People are loving your cheese sauce, they say. That's great. People know who you are. Gabriel, some people don't. They new face. Well, at least it's a handsome face. We got this thing now. We're trying to get all the good looking people out. So
well, I appreciate it. But yeah, so I was, like I said, I had a back injury, back surgery, broke my back. And then I was in animal science classes and was asking my professors how I should lose weight, right? They're smart people, and was asking and trying all the animal-based diets because that's what they were leading me to, the keto diet or low carb diet or the JJ Virgin skinny diet or all the different types of diets out there. What I thought all the types of diets were until I found myself pretty much just as fat, sick, and overweight as I was before. And then what became the big turning point was I was sitting in my livestock production class or my nutrition class, and I realized I was sitting down to a friend and I said, there's something wrong with this picture, Chef AJ. And she said, what's wrong with the picture? I said, I've been taking nutrition advice from my 300-pound professor. And at that point in time, I ended up making the switch or became more receptive to other ideas and was introduced to Dr. McDougall and Dr. Esselstyn and T. Colin Campbell's work. And like they say, the rest is history. Over the course of the next 2 years, I was still studying livestock production because I really was, I was in my senior level classes getting ready to be at that point. and lost 100 pounds over the course of 2 years at about a pound a week. And so that was quite the transformation, but I've been better, and my back's been better for it for the long haul now.
Did you break your back from being tackled?
No, it was a off-season injury. It was in the weight room, actually. So I had started the whole year and had played in some pretty cool places, 100,000 people at Michigan in different places, but it was an off-season injury. We were actually back squatting, and that was the last time I've back squatted.
Was it like a compression fracture or?
Well, there was quite a bit that happened, but the main thing that was causing a lot of the issues was I had a spondylolisthesis, which, my backbone and my spine were not in cohorts at that time. I had herniated discs, bulging discs. It was what my doctor said. He said, like if you could mix everything together that you do not want to have happen to your back, that's what happened.
Where was it? The lumbar spine?
It was around my L4-S1.
Wow. Now because I broke my back too, and I know how horrible that is. I was L1, L2, and it's like, okay. Boy,
Yeah, it was not fun, but looking back, it was something that led me onto a journey that has it got me to this point where I'm healthier and feeling better than ever. And, you don't wish anybody on that path, but it is the path that I had to take to get here and reach my peak health, or regain my health, as they say.
That is a great story. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your recipe.
Yes, yeah. So we're gonna get started. So this is my 3-2-1 easy bean burger recipe. It's super simple, and it is a base style of recipe, basically because with all my recipes, I want to make them as easily reproducible as possible, but then also so that anyone viewing this that wants to make the recipe can take it and make it their own by adding their favorite seasonings, sauces, however they'd like. And so this is, again, a base. You can make it just like this. You can add your different seasonings. And so the base of the burgers are 3 cups of cooked beans. And these have been drained and rinsed, so there's not a ton of extra liquid. There really shouldn't be much or at all any extra liquid there. And I get asked a lot, what type of beans? And we have found that any type of bean at all will work. It could be a chickpea, it could be a white bean, a black bean, a red bean, kidney beans, navy beans, any type of bean, as long as you have cooked it and it's been drained and rinsed. And on the same note, you can use canned beans. If you have canned beans in your pantry that you want to use up, drain and rinse them and get 3 cups worth. And we're going to add that to a bowl. And this is a great recipe for those who either don't have any fancy or type of kitchen equipment, because you can make it in a bowl really simply, but you can also use something like a stand mixer that does a great job with this. We use a stand mixer if I'm making a ton of burgers, but for today's example, we will just go ahead and use the beans. The first thing I like to do is just mash the beans up. You can use a fork or a mixing spoon like I'm doing. It doesn't have to be a puree, but you just want to break them down a little bit before we get them mixed in with all the other ingredients. And I will say, Chef AJ, this is a recipe that my dad, he's been eating plant-based for a few years now, a former college football player himself, someone who was extremely overweight, was someone who was a heavy meat eater his whole life and ate kind of like a cheap college student for most of the time I was growing up. Bean burritos smothered in cheese and sour cream, hamburgers every night, or lunch meat sandwiches with cheese. And it wasn't like a few pieces of lunch meat. It was like the lunch meat and the cheese were about 1.5 inches thick, and then there was a little bit of bread on the sides. The prototype, the standard American diet eater. But he, when adopting a plant-based diet, this recipe was one that not only helped him kind of get his foot in the door, but one that my parents still eat on a very regular basis, because it's one that you can make 8 burgers, or you can go ahead and make 80 burgers and freeze them so that you always have them ready. And that can make a world of difference to busy families.
And you could probably just use canned beans, right?
Yeah. A lot of times if that's what you have available, or if that's what you'd prefer to do, canned beans are cooked perfectly. We just put them in a colander, we'll drain and rinse them, and then they're ready to roll. We personally, just because we eat a lot of the simple starchy staples like rice, beans, potatoes, oats, corn, quinoa, we do use the Instant Pot like you do for a lot of things. And so if I were going to cook these beans from dry using the Instant Pot, I would cook them for 30 minutes on the regular or the normal pressure cooker setting, just a manual setting for 30 minutes.
I like that. Simple, starchy staples. That's what we all need to eat. SSS.
That is true. There, Dr. McDougall, everybody has been, it's no secret that they are the foods that people and populations have been eating for thousands of years without being plagued by the chronic diseases that are running rampant in the modern world, that ran rampant in my family, that run rampant in pretty much everybody's family eating a standard American diet. And so it's not a new topic, but it is one that more and more people are being reintroduced to.
Nice.
So there are our beans. They are pretty well mashed. They're not a puree. It's just, I've broken up most of them. You can still see some of the skin to the beans there. We just mixed them up pretty good. The next ingredient, past our 3 cups of cooked beans, is going to be 2 cups of cooked brown rice. And this is actually white rice that we had because we are going through our pantry and finishing it all up. But white or brown rice, of course, being better. But I wanted to kind of also just use the white rice to show everyone that while if you have the option of going out, or you're worried that you have white rice but you don't want to use it, go ahead and use it. You're going to be all right. This would be a good recipe to use it up with.
I love white rice and I eat it. And I'm not, these people that are afraid to eat rice, there's like people that are afraid to eat potatoes. There's nothing wrong with eating rice, white rice. That's how Kempner reversed diabetes. I think white rice is delicious and I eat it.
It's great. And it's really some people like brown rice more, some people like white rice. It doesn't really, again, if you're eating the simple starchy staples, there's not much to worry about. Absolutely. So next we have the one, which is 1 cup of oats. Now I like to use quick cooking oats if you have them available, just because they break down and they're a little bit easier to mix into the burgers. But due to us kind of not having all the pantry staples, I am using a rolled grain mix today, also showing you the versatility of this recipe. This is a rolled wheat, rolled rye, rolled oats, but a rolled grain. You can also, for people who don't want to use oats or may have some sort of sensitivity to them, I get asked a lot, there's rolled quinoa, flaked quinoa that you can use. There's different flaked or rolled grains that would work great. So I'm going to add that in. And then our seasonings, which this can be as basic, as simple as you would like, or it can be as crazy and exotic as you would like. But in general, we will go ahead and add in a couple of teaspoons of garlic powder and onion powder, and then around 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. That is just a base, because whenever we eat this, we're going to put on maybe some Well Your World sriracha on top, or we're going to put on some homemade ketchup, or we use sauces, and we're not afraid to use some salt at the table. But in this recipe, you will notice that there's no salt in the base, just as Dr. McDougall and others have recommended that when you use it in a recipe, it does get diluted compared to just adding it on the table.
I saw a hand.
You may have. It was Bridget will tune in a second. If people want to see Bridget, she is just finishing up her lunch with my wife, Dr. Miller here.
Right.
But they will be able to join in a second.
Great. I'll just read you some of the nice comments. Teresa says, yay, a burger recipe. Kathy, love Plant Based Gabriel. I make that recipe a lot. Gina wants to know if you've always liked cooking, or did you just learn to cook once you became plant-based?
That is a great question. I probably cooked 0.7 meals growing up before I was adopted a plant-based diet. I don't ever remember cooking anything. I was more focused on training and things like that, and had a wonderful cook of a mother, not necessarily cooking wonderful plant-based foods, but was feeding our family. And so I did not grow up cooking or really cook much previously, but after I broke my back and adopted the plant-based diet is when I took up cooking, because I really didn't have anything else to do. I was either sitting on the recliner with a recovering back, or I was able to walk to the bedroom, or I could stand in the kitchen for a few minutes. And that was really when my love or affinity towards cooking and being in the kitchen blossomed.
Nice.
So we have the garlic powder and onion powder, and then just going to add in about 1/2 teaspoon, well, as much pepper as we have left in there. about a half a teaspoon of black pepper. And the last ingredient is 1/4 cup of some sort of liquid. You could use your favorite sauce. You could use vegetable broth. You could use water. It really doesn't matter. But here's a tip. I get asked a lot. If you go ahead and add the 4th cup of liquid right away, there could be a problem because you might not have had your beans completely drained or rinsed. So go ahead and hold off on the sauce or the liquid of using it all. Add a little bit, but not all of it right away, because it can get pretty loose in there it can be kind of messy to form into patties if you try to add all the liquid at once. So I've got some water here. I'm just going to add in a little bit. That was about probably 1/8 of a cup. 1/4 of a cup would be all that you would need if it does need it. So add a little bit and continue from there.
Beverly says it's cooked white rice. The rice has to be cooked, correct?
Yes. The rice is cooked, the beans are cooked, but the oats are uncooked.
Right. And Jan says, could you use oat groats instead of the rice? I would imagine if they were cooked, you could.
If you used oat groats that were cooked, they could work, but you're going to want to cut out the rest of the liquid until you really start mixing things together, just because those oat groats are going to hold quite a bit of moisture. And the thing with the oats, the rolled oats or the quick cooking oats in this recipe is it's the binder. It's what's going to suck up the liquid and really get it to form into those patties. And so, yes, you can make it, but you may also need to add in a few tablespoons of whole wheat flour or oat flour or a gluten-free flour in the end to make it all come together. But that's the case with every recipe, Chef AJ. I'm sure you know that if you are going to try to make it a little bit different, don't be afraid to test it or throw a few things in there to get it to the desired consistency or end result that you're hoping for.
Great. Robert Cheek says, since you lost 100 pounds, does anyone call you Miller Lite?
That's a good one, Robert. I have not heard that, but it might stick. I don't know. I'm sure next time I see Robert at a convention or an expo or a veg fest, I would expect Robert to come up and call me Miller Lite when I see him next.
He says, congratulations on Bridget. That's your baby. And a lot of people are saying they love your cookbooks.
Well, thank you. Yes, we have, that came out in December, the Plant-Based Diet for Beginners. And it was just pretty much, my wife is bringing it over here. Sorry, our video could you hit that, Erica? Our video just popped out there. I will turn it back on here.
Great. Otherwise, I got to finish this cooking demo and I got nothing.
Yes, we will get that on.
Yeah, I'll just talk. Sherry says that Robert needs to do stand-up. I actually think I asked him, didn't I ask you, Robert, to take the class with me that I'm taking now in stand-up? Robert would be great in stand-up or in improv.
Is my video back?
It sure is.
All right, cool. Well, here's the book, The Plant-Based Diet for Beginners. It was the book that I wish I would have had as I was adopting a plant-based diet, but also helping my mom, my dad, my sister, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, cousins, and friends, all helping them adopt a plant-based diet. And so it's got the what is a plant-based diet, the why do you want to eat a plant-based diet, and it's got 75 easy plant-based recipes that show you how a plant-based diet can really become a major part of your life. And so it did good, and it's hopefully continuing to help many lives moving forward is the goal. But here is, we're mixing this together, and it really can be dependent upon if you're serving this recipe to maybe some kids that might be a little averse to seeing some rice or a bit of a bean in there, then you're going to want to really mix it, because it will come together and look like what would be a beef burger or whatever type of burger that you're trying to make there. But if you're cooking it for other whole food plant-based eaters or other vegans are coming over, you could keep it at a consistency like this, which will hold together and form into a patty. And if you're worried about maybe those picky eaters, you could take this, and if you do have a food processor, you could blitz it in there for a few seconds. It's just going to mix everything together up well. But on the bare basics, if you have a mixing bowl and a spoon, there's no excuse not to be eating healthy, whole food, plant-based burgers. So here they are, and I am going to.
PJ wants to know if this recipe is in your book.
This exact recipe is not, but the base is. So this is the 3-2-1 burger recipe, which is basically the base that I use for almost all of my burger recipes. So in the book, I have a Hawaiian luau burger, which is a variation of this. And then in the book, there's also the easy falafel burger, which is another version of this using chickpeas as the bean base. So we've got, and here's another question I get. How many burgers does this recipe make? And that really depends upon how big you're making the burgers. We find that it makes somewhere between 6 to 8 burgers, depending on the size. And I will normally use around a 1/3 cup measuring device to get the burgers and form them. And here's another tip is, I don't know if you can get this exact one, but if you are someone who likes to make bean burgers and likes to make whole food plant-based burgers, then investing $10 in a patty press or a burger patty press is going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to make very similar homogenized burgers that you're not going to have to worry about ones being smaller or bigger and spending this amount of time on the grill. And so we like patty presses. This one was just from, I think this was a Walmart one. I don't know if you can still get it, but if you look on Amazon, you can find different patty presses. That is a big help for someone who, whenever I go visit my parents or our in-laws, I have been known to be asked to make, 100 or 150 burgers so that they can keep them in their freezer until I see them again in a couple months. And so you'll need a patty press if you're going to make a ton of them. And when you're making the patties, I like to use parchment paper. You could also use a silly pat or a silicone baking sheet, but all I'm going to do is take our parchment paper and grab around 1/3 cup of the burger mix. And again, you could make bigger patties or smaller patties. They do have slider patty presses, so if you have that, that works too. But I'm going to put it on one side of the parchment paper, close it up, and take my patty press and close it down. And there you have easy whole food plant-based 3-2-1 burger. And how do we cook these? Well, we like to cook them in various ways. You'll see behind me, I have this is an air fryer, toaster oven, convection oven, conventional oven. You have, I think, the Breville brand.
What brand is yours, Gabriel?
So this is kind of a little bit of a cheaper option. This is the Cuisinart TOA 60. I think it's around $120, $100. We like it because we can cook just about everything in it, and it doesn't take up much space on the counter. But we use that, so we will cook these in the air fryer at about 375 degrees for around 10 minutes. We'll also bake the burgers at 375 to 400 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes, flipping them halfway, and we will bake those on parchment paper or a silicone baking sheet. But our all-time favorite way to cook them is on the grill. These are a wonderful grillable recipe. So I will take them either fresh like this, throw them on a hot grill, cook them for about 4 minutes on each side. But our favorite way to cook them and keep them is actually, I'll grab here. We've eaten a lot of bean burgers in the past few days. I've been making a lot of them. So this is all that's left. But what I do is I take this patty and I put it onto a parchment lined baking sheet or cutting board. This is just an old cutting board that we don't really mind that if it bows or anything, but I'll set it on top and I will freeze them just like that overnight. And then once the overnight is done, or it could have been 8 hours, I will pop them off of the baking sheet just like this one, which you'll see is very hard. And then I take that and just put it in it could be a freezer safe bag. It could be some sort of freezer safe Tupperware, whatever. It could be a food saver airtight bag. But this is how we store our burgers, because then we can take this frozen patty, throw it on the grill for 4 to 5 minutes per side, a hot grill. We can cook it the exact same in the oven. And another bonus to using the frozen option is it's going to cook nice and evenly on the outside while staying pretty moist and tender on the inside, which is a bonus. And I talked to my parents today, and apparently they will take the patties, fresh patties, and they'll actually cook them for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then they'll freeze them so that they can just throw them in their microwave or throw them in the oven to cook a little quicker. So there's a lot of different options. You can make it as simple and easy as possible, but that is how we make our 3-2-1 bean burgers. And you can see this one. I'll bring it up to the camera. This one I did mix in my stand mixer, and so this one is a bit more homogenized for, say, the kiddos or someone who doesn't want to see maybe more whole pieces of oats or rice, but they will cook the exact same and they'll taste the exact same. And I think anybody you serve them to will enjoy them, with the caveat, just understanding that there was no salt in this recipe. And if you're serving these to a big group of standard American diet eaters, then you may put some salt in the recipe, or you'll want to. Here's something, Chef AJ, I get a lot, is I'll make these and take them to a talk, or I'll do them at a veg fest, and people will want to eat them without their ketchup and mustard, or without a barbecue sauce, or without anything. And then they'll say, oh, they don't have much flavor, or there's not, they're a little dry, or this or that. And I'll say, well, sir or ma'am, how do you normally eat your burger? Well, I eat it with about a cup of barbecue sauce, and then a little spritz of ketchup, and then, a few tablespoons of mustard, and I might even dip it in some au jus. It's like, and so if you are used to eating something with sauce, then you're going to enjoy it with sauce. Just understanding that if you're serving them to, say, not so whole food plant-based leaning crowd yet. Hopefully this converts them.
I always cook where does he keep going, you guys? Darn. He disappears.
It is sorry about that. It's
okay.
The camera we're using in the kitchen is a camcorder that needs to every 15 minutes or so.
No worries. Now, at least I understand. So I when I make burgers, and I also make bean burgers without beans, I always cook them first and then I freeze them. So I didn't know you could actually freeze them before cooking. So thank you.
And either one works great. And I have, just with these, I found that they don't dry out as quickly, or they're a little bit more lenient in baking them. Because I know a lot of people, if you have an oven, or if you have an air fryer, or you have a grill, then you really don't have to worry about it, because you can cook them nice and hot. They're good to go. But an oven takes a little bit more time, and I found that they can dry out a little quicker if they're cooked a couple times.
Right. Kathy wants to know how well the air fryer option works on your unit.
It works really good. I wouldn't say it doesn't cook as quickly as, say, one of the modular egg-shaped ones. I mean, this is a multiple unit, so it might take 1 or 2 more minutes to air fry, say, French fries, or to air fry sweet potato fries, or air fry a burger. But understanding that it can do a little bit of everything, and it's just a nice small unit that can kind of do a ton of different functions. We're okay with that, but it does a good job. We haven't had a complaint, and it's been a good option for us.
Great. Linda says, I love this guy, and AM has a question. Why do fitness trainers say to get a tighter body composition, you need to eat more animal-based protein? It's their first suggestion, up protein 1 gram per pound.
Well, I would say that it's that's probably just been what they've been told. And if they're working out a ton and doing that, they're probably thinking that, hey, this produced good results for me. But like I had Robert Cheek on my interview show just this week, Robert explained very, very quickly that if you're training like you need to, and you're eating healthy whole plant foods, then there's absolutely no reason to worry about any animal protein intake or any other, making sure you're getting 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Unless you're trying to meet if you're trying to bulk up and put on an extra 100 pounds, there's different reasons. But what I see, Chef AJ, a lot of times, and you've had Derek on, and there's a lot of great voices on it, but what I see, unfortunately, is a lot of middle-aged men and women go to a trainer, and 5-6 months later, they leave, and they're more unfit, unhealthy than they were when they first came. And all they've done is they've just stressed out their joints because they were doing a ton of heavy exercises while still carrying excess body weight. And so those are just questions to ask, is say, why do you say that? And ask your trainer, where are you hearing that? And what basis do you have to think that that's even the truth?
Now, who's that cute person that you're holding?
This is baby Bridget, plant-based Bridget. She
so she's got her own channel too.
She has she's out on the farm with me. I guess I didn't say it, but we have a 1 acre vegan vegetable farm, an organic and vegan vegetable farm. And so Bridget is normally out tending to the crops with Dad, or inside with me, or doing something. So yeah, she posts a few things in her life from her perspective on Instagram and Facebook. But she's how old now? She's 4 months old on Friday. So
wow, she's adorable. Colleen says, you lost 100 pounds. Wow, you look fantastic. Rosemarie says, I use shredded beets in my burgers to give it an authentic burger look. A couple of people are saying they bought your burger press on Amazon. And yeah, Party Press. Lorna says she bought it. And let's see what else we've got here.
Well, I will say that those beets make a great addition to burger recipes. It'll add that nice dark bloody texture or image that you'll see on those patties. We're not so much, I don't know if we're we just look at the burgers and try to make them as simple as possible. But if you want to throw some shredded carrots or some shredded beets or add some more veggies, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Question on what do you set your air fryer to when you're cooking them in the air fryer?
I said it. Now that's I'm sure you know too, Chef AJ, is all air fryers act a little bit differently, just like some ovens do. But in general, we go 375 to 400. I like to use 375 on our air fryer just because I know it's not going to burn anything really quickly. If I bump it up to 450 or 420 or 400, sometimes it can really get some char on things quick. So we'll use 375, but if you notice or you know personally that yours runs normal at 400 or you like to use 400, there's no problem with it. I would say that that's a safe, 375 is a safe temperature to get rolling with.
Great. I'm so lazy. I just do everything at 400 for 20 minutes and just hope it works out.
And we are the exact same way, but we use 375 just because I've been known to set it for 15 to 20 minutes and then come back at 25 or 30 minutes and it'll have turned off, but the residual heat can really do a number on it. So we use the safe 375 or 400 but that's also what we use with the oven when we make most things. So it's probably just a habit.
Nice. That's a very cute baby, everyone says.
Well, thank you. Yes, she is. She's been doing good. Mom ate completely whole food plant-based through the whole pregnancy and was whole food plant-based for 2 years before the pregnancy. And Bridget's been doing good. You can tell she's definitely not missing any meals. She's making sure to get all her food, and she's doing really good. We've been overly happy with how well everything's been going. And I do get asked a lot, my wife is, she eats a whole food plant-based diet. And a lot of people ask, or they saw her, they say, well, what about when she's pregnant? Is she going to get everything she needs? Or what about when she's breastfeeding? Is she going to get everything? And, we're not the only ones who have done this, but I will say that our midwife and every professional in that department who has seen Bridget or who is taking care of my wife through the pregnancy has said that this was by far the healthiest pregnancy that they've seen. So
maybe your wife could write a book on plant-based pregnancies.
We will see. Dr. Miller, you want to come over here? We'll get.
Okay, so doctor, what kind of doctor?
She is a math professor.
Wow. Hi.
Nice
to meet you.
Nice to meet you all.
Look at you. You got that's a figure for somebody that just had a baby. Wow.
Oh, Erica, can we get the camera again?
Yep.
It's
Nirvana, I'll ask your question in a second about what Bridget, I'm guessing Bridget's diet is probably breast milk is my guess.
Yes, she is exclusively breastfed. And here, let me get this.
I'll ask your question, Debbie, when he comes back. They're wondering where your dogs are.
Oh, where Bubbles and Bella are. Well, here, I can, here, Dr. Miller will grab Bridget.
Does everything that you love start with a B in your family?
That was a coincidence. No.
Except for Erica or Dr. Miller, I think everything else does.
Well, you don't.
Oh,
so Erica, do you teach? Are you a professor?
I am, yes. So I'm a professor at Virginia Commonwealth.
Wow, but you don't even look old enough to be attending college.
No.
Oh my God, oh my God. There's nothing cuter than babies and dogs together.
This is Bubbles, who we don't normally bring her up to the cooking table when I'm making meals, but she.
Oh my God.
She is definitely a fan favorite. We actually call our two bulldogs, they're Nanny Bella and Nanny Bubbles for baby Bridget. So this is Bridget's Nanny Bubbles.
That is the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, so Bridget is just now starting to starting to kind of notice things are around her. So she is she's grabbing for the dogs and petting them, and she's building up her immune system, that good healthy gut bacteria.
That is precious. When did she go to solid food?
Erica?
Oh, well, we're kind of following Dr. Sears and his advice of food before one is just for fun. And so no solid food yet. Well, we were just talking about this a couple days ago. We'll start introducing it to her when she starts getting curious and wants to try some things. But for now, she's exclusively breastfed.
So you're her store, you're her supermarket. You provide everything.
Yes. And then Daddy is mine. So we got a nice chain going here.
I am not exclusively breastfeeding anyone, just to make that clear. But I do most of the cooking. So
that's fantastic. You guys have any questions for PBG? I'm posting your website if people want, and Robert's been posting the link to your book on Amazon. Very
cool. Yeah, it's and I'll just say this about the book. We did like your book is made, unprocessed. I'll have to say Chef AJ was, and I enjoy Secrets of Ultimate Weight Loss as well. But Unprocessed, as I was getting started, was a wonderful resource. And so why don't you leave that link there too, Chef AJ, for Unprocessed?
So what I'm going to do is I want to get, people are asking for your other links. So I'm going to post your YouTube channel. I'm so glad you sent this to me before, because it makes it easy to post. Here's your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I share a lot of recipes on there, different recipes from the book, but then, well, I don't know, different things that happen around the farm as well. We harvested around 40 or 50 pounds of collard greens and kale greens and turnip greens just last week or the week before, and had brought them all in. And so I shared a video on how I freeze or blanch everything and then freeze it so that we have greens for cooking or smoothies or any other recipe all year round.
Wow. What did you used to eat as a football player, and what do you eat now?
That is a very good question. Back when I was a football player, I did not eat many vegetables or simple starchy staples, or it was pretty much meat and dairy and eggs. And if you look at old pictures of me from back when I was 100 pounds heavier, my face was about twice as big. My face might have been 100 pounds heavier, but I'm just very, very bloated. I just looking back now, because of the meat and animal-based diet that I was eating, I was the inflammation and the joints and just overall activity level. Now, as someone who's 6 years past my surgery, and now 100 pounds lighter, I feel more athletic and better health-wise than I did as, like I said, a starting college football player. And that has to do with what we're eating now, which is we eat oats for breakfast pretty much every day. And a lot of times it's an oat bake, which we just mix some oats with some maple syrup or some cinnamon, and we bake that with some plant-based milk or water, or we'll make steel cut oats in the Instant Pot, which it really depends on what the weather's like outside, but we'll do that. And then for lunch, I think so here, I'll be honest, Chef AJ, the reason we were a few minutes late on the call was because for some reason I was thinking that we were four hours difference. I know, crazy, but I was thinking we would start on at 4. And so I was cooking a late lunch for us. And then I was like, oh, I got to get the kitchen ready. So here's what we eat for lunch. This is just in our Instant Pot, which you'll see in a second.
Got to put the camera back on, guys. Okay. You guys, I see a few questions. As soon as the camera comes back on his end, I will ask. There it goes. So
this is what we have, which is just rice, black beans, corn, which is just, we get frozen sweet corn that we'll mix in during the winter months. And then some chili powder, cumin, and black pepper, and maybe some red pepper flakes. And so we'll mix that together. These were all cooked and ready to go that we just warmed up in the Instant Pot. But it is the simple starchy staples. We eat these all the time. We'll have, here's a tip that I always, and I know you're similar. You like to have your potatoes baked and ready to roll, which is a huge help. And it's something that's a game changer, because you can have 20 pounds of potatoes or whatever your family eats in a week cooked and cooled in the fridge, and you're ready to roll. But we do the exact same thing with Rice will always have, we cook our rice in the Instant Pot. You can cook it however you'd like, but we have a pot full of rice in the fridge, ready to go, that's been cooked and cooled. We'll have a pot full of black beans or pinto beans or chickpeas, whatever you'd like. And then we'll do that we'll have the potatoes and sweet potatoes in there. And so with potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, and beans, we were able to make just about every single recipe that we could ever dream of and do it very quickly. I always like to say for people who are beginning that you never want to be more than 5 to 15 minutes away from a cooked, ready to go, whole food, plant-based meal. And if you have these simple starchy staples ready to go, or you have something like these burgers ready to roll in your freezer, you're 10 minutes away from a cooked meal. And for busy families, and it's like people are being busy in a different way now, where they're probably running around trying to do work at home or chasing after kids. But even if you are back to full-time work or this or that, having something ready to roll when you're getting started, when you might make the decision, and if you have it in your house, like you say, you're going to eat it. So if it's junk food in there, you shouldn't have it in there. But on the same token, if you don't have anything ready to go that's healthy, it's almost just as hard to eat healthy because it's going to take 20, 40, 50 minutes. And so if you have these simple starchy staples ready to roll, then you're going to want to eat them because they're going to be the path of least resistance. And from busy families, that is, it's important.
I agree. It almost looks like what you have in your Instant Pot. You could add oats to that, and that could be your burger too.
That could very much be like a salsa burger. We put in some salsa or some tomato sauce. Yeah, you can get as crazy as you'd like with these burgers. And sometimes I get, some people don't necessarily love how simple the recipes are sometimes, but here's what I say. I'd much rather have a simple recipe that you can add 1,000 things to than have a recipe with 1,000 ingredients that you have to go broke going to the health food store to make. And, you can always make them a lot more complicated if you'd prefer that. But on the basis, having simple recipes is at least what I found. And I don't know if you've seen the same thing, but for our family, as we've eaten a plant-based diet for a while now, and people I've known that have eaten it for decades, 10, 20 years, eating a whole food plant-based diet, I don't find that the people eating a plant-based diet get more and more exotic with their recipes. I don't see them using 1,000 ingredients in their staple meals that they're eating for dinner 5-6 nights a week. What I find is they have 4 or 5 of their staples ready to roll in their pantry, some spices, some seasonings, some sauces, and that's how they live and that's how they eat. And that's what we found too to be the case. It's very easy, very simple.
That's how most people that I know that have done this for a long time do it. We're not making a chef recipe maybe I do it once a year, like at Thanksgiving. Yeah. Jessica says she loves your cinnamon roll waffles. Beverly says loves your recipe, simple and easy. And Emily wants to know if you still have any pain from your back injury.
That is a good question. I'm glad everybody's enjoying those recipes, first of all. But the back is pretty much good to go. I had it was a 6.5 hour back surgery. It was pretty extensive. I wish, knowing what I know now, that I would have had a doctor to tell me you need to lose 100 pounds and then we'll talk about different more invasive type procedures. But it is what it is. And I had a doctor who was quick to give me a 6.5 hour back surgery and then tell me I needed to lose weight. And so there are some things like, yep, go ahead.
If he told you needed to lose weight first, you might not have needed the back. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, that's exactly right. And there's always looking back and questioning things, but in reality, had he have told me to lose 100 pounds, he wouldn't have had a good solution to do it. I would have, I just, things work out. And so it is what it is, but you are right. I do tell people that if you are 100 pounds overweight and someone's telling you need to get back surgery, maybe think about losing 100 pounds before you make those decisions. Because that's what they'll tell you coming out of surgery is now you got to lose the weight or you're going to be back here in another year or two getting more procedures. So that was the case. But as I was losing the weight, the back just continued to feel better and better. And of course, the strength kind of was built back. But when I got down to the weight I'm at now, the weight I've been carrying for a while, losing all that weight, the back's been fine. Now I'm out on the farm quite a few hours a day, out pulling weeds or doing things. And of course, if I'm bending my back for 2 hours, like most people, I might have a sore back when I go to bed. But in general, it's been good. I'm able to cycle. We've got a nice bicycle trail around here, and I'll jump on there a few times a week. And so I'm pretty much to full capacity without being able to, it would not be privy of me to necessarily go out jogging or running, putting extra stress on the back right now.
Nice. Linda says she loves your YouTube video on freezing grains. Phyllis says, I love this guy and his ingredient common sense. Yes. And Prisha says, I love this. A lot of people love you. That's wonderful. I love this guy. I'm going to give this video to my fertility patients that I'm trying to get them to change their diet. My young patients will be able to really relate to him. So that's terrific.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. No, I am by no means a licensed physician or anything, but I think Dr. Neil Barnard has great information on fertility issues, and not that we had to deal with those, but he does have great issues or great information on that, and PCOS, and he'd be a wealth of information on that subject.
Yeah, I interviewed him 2 days ago, and he talked about a patient who basically thought she was infertile and followed the diet, and then surprise, she's pregnant.
It's hopefully it was a good surprise for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what a plant-based diet can do, and it's like I said, I've seen my own family it make a huge difference in their lives. My mom, my dad, my sister losing 50, 60, 70 pounds. My wife was not at a point where she was overweight, but you could tell right now her body conformation changed. She lost a lot of any excess fat she had that wasn't being utilized or necessary, and trimmed down. And my mother-in-law actually was diagnosed with breast cancer, and her and my father-in-law made the decision to adopt a plant-based diet, and it's been quite the transformation in our family, and we've seen the benefits of it, definitely. And that was the goal with the book and with everything. And I started the channel, I started the recipes, started answering questions on it because I saw how powerful it was for my own family. And you can always do things personally for your life. And I'm sure you've seen this, Chef AJ. It feels great to be healthy and to have the power over food, to understand that, hey, if I eat this, I'm going to stay trim, I'm going to stay healthy, I'm going to be full, and I'm not going to have to worry about those things I spent years and years worrying about. But beyond that, for those listening, if you are eating a whole food plant-based diet or you're thinking about it, you just never know the lives you can really touch once you master a whole food plant-based diet, which doesn't take much, and it doesn't have to be complicated, and it can be very easy. But once you have that set in stone, the lives you can touch, those people that you care about, that's where the real difference is made. And that's the fun. That's where the real fun comes in, when you see your loved ones make the change.
Yeah. Lentil Larry, great name, by the way, wants to know if you still play sports or work out, and how long did it take you to lose the 100 pounds?
That is a good question, Lentil Larry. I lost 100 pounds. It took me about 2 years. So when I really made the decision to adopt a plant-based diet, over the course of the next 2 years, I lost on average about a pound a week. There were some weeks where, I might have lost less, some weeks I might have lost more, but in general, it took me 2 years to really get down to my healthy body weight, which for some may seem discouraging. I know some people who look at it and they think, well, I want to lose 50, 60 pounds in the next 3 months. I saw, this or that, when in reality, it took me 19 years to get up to 260 plus pounds. I hope it wouldn't take me 19 more years, but to take 2 years to do it, I think was well worth it. And time flies. You look back and you think, wow, I can't believe I looked like that 2 years ago, or this or that. So for some people, it takes a little bit more, a little bit less. For the exercise, I do exercise. I will get on my bicycle a few times a week. When it gets really nice out, I'll try to get out there once a day or so. And just get on the trail for a little bit, but no strenuous exercising. It's mostly just, if I'm doing anything, it's a lot of body weight exercises once or twice a week. And then I'll get on the bicycle. And I will say this, a lot of people coming from my competitive athletic background will look at it and say, oh, well, or will see me without necessarily knowing the whole story and say, oh, well, he just exercised the weight away. A whole food plant-based diet's great, but if you can't exercise heavily, or you can't really focus on being in the gym, there's no need for it, or you can't lose the weight. Well, I am living proof that that's the exact opposite, because after my back surgery, I spent the next 6 months, a year, where I was very severely limited in my mobility. For a long time, I had to pretty much relearn how to walk after my surgery. So I was either using a walker, or I was I could walk from the kitchen to the bathroom to the living room for months on end. And that was all I was able to do. And around, and then when I adopted the plant-based diet, it was much of the same, to where I wasn't able to be at the gym 5 days a week for 2 hours losing the weight. It was as everyone says, it was the food, as Dr. McDougall says, it's the food, and it really does make a big difference. It makes the difference. You can't outwork your mouth is key.
Absolutely. Susan wants to know, what's your favorite type of potato and favorite preparation method of said potato?
That is a good question. Our favorite potato, I mean, is there really a bad potato, Chef AJ? So we're saying favorite. There doesn't mean there's a worse potato. I think we need to clarify. But our favorite white potato or Irish potato would be a Yukon Gold. Find them just to be very versatile. We'll bake them. So this is what we do. I'll just say this: with all of our potatoes and sweet potatoes, we will bake them. So I'll bake them at 375 for about 50 minutes and pull them out, let them cool, and then sit them in the fridge. I'll grab it. We have a big stainless steel kind of roasting pan that I will bake you see there's one nice big Yukon Gold left, but we will bake the potatoes in this. I'll set it on the counter to cool. And then when they're cool, I put it in the fridge, and then I can pull a few potatoes out throughout the week. And, some people ask, does it have to be covered? And I'm by no means a food storage or safety expert, but for us, we just store them in here throughout the week and pull them out, and we'll reheat them or recook them. But that's what we do. We bake them, we pre-bake them. And then from there, I'll chop this potato up into fries. I'll throw it in the air fryer, or I'll put it in the oven, or I'll throw it on the grill. So we eat a lot of white potatoes or Irish potatoes as fries. So that's what we'll do. With sweet potatoes, I really don't have a favorite sweet potato. We just like all sweet potatoes. Here on the farm this year, I may have a better answer, because I'm growing, I think, 15 different types of sweet potatoes to figure out which ones we really enjoy. But we will bake those very similarly. And our favorite way to eat sweet potatoes is I'll just pull them out cold a lot of times and just eat them like a banana, or eat them as a snack. That's personally my favorite way. I know my mom is a big fan of doing that, but they also we'll mash them up with some cinnamon, and they're sweet enough. After they've cooked, they're sweet enough, and just mix in some cinnamon in the morning. That's a great breakfast. But yeah, baking them first, and then making fries out of them. Yukon Golds are our favorite. If we don't have any Yukon Golds, we'll use some red potatoes, or we'll use some russets. But I find the Yukon Golds are very versatile. Make good mashed potatoes out of them. You make fries out of them. You can make smashed potatoes, or potato boats, or anything that you'd like with them.
So we have a question from Beverly. What kind of bun do you use for your plant bean burger?
That is a good question. We will use, a lot of times, what we have available. I guess here's the question. If you're someone with a severe health limiting factor or something, then you're probably not going to you're going to be very stringent on it. But when we buy buns, we have some local shops, and we'll use ones that are vegan. We'll make sure there's no animal products in it, but then ones that either are oil-free, or, let me get this again. I've not had this problem before, Chef AJ. I apologize about that. But we'll use ones that are either oil. You want to look for whole wheat, oil-free buns, but that's not always an option. If you have a local bakery, that's a great place to look. You may have a bakery that can make them for you. There are some recipes online, but for us, a lot of times, if we're in a pinch, or we have some burgers, or here's the best answer. If you're making them for someone who's used to eating standard American diet junk burgers, go for the whole wheat, the vegan buns. And if there is some oil, we don't use oil in any of our cooking. We don't use any oil in our recipes. But for someone who's being introduced to this way of eating, giving them a similar bun will probably make a big difference in them being receptive to this way of eating. But in general, we'll look for a local bun, or a lot of times, Chef AJ, we will cook this, and I'll put it on a plate with maybe like a rice and bean and corn mixture, and just put it on top and eat it like that without anything. You could use collard green wrap, or you could do really anything, but you will have a tough time. If you're going to your grocery store looking for an oil-free vegan bun, unfortunately, they're just not that readily accessible. And so there are some recipes out there to try to make your own, but that would be something that if you're just cooking it for your family, you can go without the bun, or even what we'll do, actually, this is probably what we do most of the time if shopping was kind of normal, like it's not right now, is using things like Dave's Killer Bread, the oil-free Dave's Killer Bread, or the Ezekiel bread. And so those are a little bit more processed, and they have some nuts and seeds, and not something that we're eating every day. But if we're having burgers for a night, we might use those for our burgers. So, and growing up, that was not a unheard of thing. Eating the standard American diet burger on a bread bun, I'm sure is something familiar for most.
You know what I do is I take Yukon Golds and I make potato waffles, and the potatoes are my buns when I have the burgers.
That's perfect. That's a good idea.
It's really good. Everybody's wanting to know if your mother-in-law is cancer-free now. How is she doing? She is. It's a great story, a story of like true love, I would say. But my mother-in-law my wife grew up on a pig farm, and out in the country in Indiana, grew up on a pig farm. My mother and father-in-law continued to raise pigs, and my mother-in-law had a breast cancer diagnosis, and was pretty much told that the standard practice or standard care would require her to be on a chemotherapy pill for the rest of her life. And that didn't sound too good for my 40-year-old mother-in-law. And I don't know, how old is she? Oh, we won't say. Sorry, Dr. Miller is behind me saying maybe I should. Everybody wants to know, do you always call your wife Dr. Miller, or are you ever allowed to call her by her first name?
Oh,
I'm teasing.
I get asked a lot. It is my, I don't know if it's a pet name or I don't know what you would call it, but it's a term of endearment. I'm very proud of how hard she worked, and the status that it may mean, or the work that she does at the university and research level. And so I do it out of love. I don't always call her Dr. Miller at home, but I'll call her Dr. Miller once in a while at home too. So it's not out of the ordinary for me and Bridget to, we'll be out working in the farm, come inside and ask Dr. Miller how she's doing is not out of the question.
We were just kidding. Maybe Bridget will call her Dr. Mommy.
That is a good one. I'll have to start planting that seed and just say, Dr. Mommy, Dr. Mommy. But my mother-in-law, I'll say this, my mother-in-law, they were on a pig farm, and she made the decision. We had been eating a plant-based diet for a while. We're not for too long. How long were we eating a plant-based diet? Maybe 8 months. I was eating it for a little bit longer, but we were eating a plant-based diet. She was diagnosed, and there was a lot to gain. She had this breast cancer diagnosis and was told that she was going to be on a chemotherapy pill for the rest of her life. But the real story there is that my father-in-law made the decision that he was going to be a supporting, loving husband, and that he was going to cut out all meat, dairy, and animal products out of his diet. As someone who is currently raising pigs in support of his wife, and to make the long, wonderful story short, she is now completely cancer-free. They no longer raise pigs, and they are trim, healthy, whole food, plant-based eaters and avid advocates of this way of eating.
That is terrific, and it's going to be so much easier that the whole family is on board, both sides.
It does. There's really not a get together that we have planned or that we go to that doesn't have easy or tasty whole food plant-based options available. Although having a mother and father-in-law and my mom and dad who eat a plant-based diet definitely means that I get requests to make whole food plant-based recipes every time we get together as well. So there's the good and the bad that comes with it, but the bad's a good bad.
That is terrific. So what's next for Plant Based Gabriel?
Well, right now there are some potential future books on the way. This one was, like I said, I really wanted to get this one out so that people could, I just knew how much of a help I thought it could have been to myself and my family. And so we really made sure to get that out as quick as possible. And now we're not 100% sure. Right now we're working on, we've got the farm. We're trying to grow most of our produce and grow most of our starchy staples So that takes a bit of work, but we do recipes. We post a recipe on Facebook or Instagram almost every night, and then post recipes and videos on YouTube quite frequently. But there'll be another book. We'll see. I may have a co-author in Baby Bridget. I don't have anything confirmed yet, but that is a good possibility. But that's where we're at. We're just trying to enjoy the health that we have, the beautiful weather, and I always say it, Chef AJ, to whenever I'm on, I say, if our viewers haven't heard it already, I love you, and I am thinking about you, and I know these times are trying, but one thing you do have control of, and you have control of a lot of things, but one thing you do have control of in all the craziness is what you're putting in your body, what you're feeding your family. Are you fueling health? Are you fueling sickness? And hopefully a recipe like this can be one that can get the whole family on board to fueling health and being looking to gain your true health, and in the midst of this storm the world's going through.
Right, terrific. Well, it's wonderful to meet you. I'm so impressed with everything you're doing and have done, and I think I know the name what your next book should be.
Let's hear it.
Simple Starchy Staples.
I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. Check out the links to his website, to his Facebook page, to his YouTube page, and to the Amazon for his book. It sounds like a great book. And thank you so much, Gabriel, for doing what you're doing. And I really appreciate your time. And it was wonderful meeting your whole family. I met all but one dog, actually.
Here, one second. We'll make sure it happens quick.
We've got to meet the last dog. Sometimes on these feeds, guys, they block me out from typing after a certain point. So Paul, the question, he's 25. Sometimes you guys come on a little bit late, which is fine. So sometimes some of the questions were answered at the beginning. Come back tomorrow at 11 a.m. I have Dr. Joel Furman talking about diet as a prevention for COVID-19 and cancer. And come back at 2 today when we have Heidi Kaufman talking about yin yoga. So is this Bubbles?
This is Bella. You saw Bubbles earlier. So this is Bella. Bella is 8 or 9 years old now. So they are, this is Nanny Bella to Bridget, but they're lazy dogs that just like to make imprints on the couch, but we don't have a problem with that.
Your dogs look so chill, just like your baby.
We like to have a nice calm atmosphere around here. So maybe that has something to do with it, but yeah.
Right. One last question, because it just came up before I let you go, and we get asked this every day. How do you store potatoes? I guess people are getting a lot of eyes.
All right. Well, I'll answer it from a little different angle, Chef AJ. The reason a lot of people may be getting eyes this time of year is because probably a good chance that those potatoes, not every time, but those potatoes may be on the back end of their storage capacity. If you go to the store and get potatoes in, say, October, those potatoes are probably going to store quite a bit longer for you than ones that you're getting in March and April, just because the planting period for most of these varieties is going to be around March and April for most parts of the U.S., and that may be when they were harvested previously or when they should be. So that would be a good tip, just to understand that if you get them, you can freeze or you can cook them right away. But we will store them in the bottom shelf in the fridge a lot of times. We find that works fine. With sweet potatoes, we'll just store them in the pantry. We've got a little drawer that we store sweet potatoes. But for white potatoes, if it's that time of year when they want to go to eyes right away, we'll put them in the fridge, and they can't go to eyes and they can't sprout if you've cooked them. So you might want to, if you get enough for 1 week, you might want to just cook them all at once and let them store them in the fridge. And that's normally the route that we go.
That's a great suggestion. They can't grow eyes if you cook them. Well, this has been great. We have somebody watching, and she says, oh, this goes really fast, the live feed, but she said, Dina says, I didn't know you were interviewing him, and I just made his burger. So how do you like that?
I love to hear it.
So Paul, I've answered my skincare routine question on the interview with Kaylin Hartwell, but I really don't have a skincare routine other than I eat a lot of vegetables. So that's it. I'm sure you don't have to. There he goes again. That is frustrating. I wanted to say goodbye to him. I was going to actually ask him if he had a skincare routine.
Do I have a skincare routine? I do not. Growing up and even in college, I had a lot of acne, and like I said, we drank a lot of dairy and had a lot of inflammation in my face and everything that goes along with it. But since eating a whole food plant-based diet with the simple starchy staples, making sure we're building every meal around them, and then with the addition of fruits and vegetables, I have not had a skin routine and have not had any sort of major breakout problems or any sort of any need for it. I've noticed that my my skin's gotten healthier and healthier actually as I've been aging, which I think is probably the opposite for most people. I think Dr. Miller's had the same case. So.
Wow, aging. You're 25. You are not aging. You're. I could be your grandmother. So people are saying that I love this guy. He just got a new follower. I love his smoothies. People that didn't know you now know you and love you, and the ones that already did, they continue to love you. So thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure meeting your whole family. Maybe next time have your mother-in-law on. We love to talk to people that have overcome cancer because I find that they're so inspiring.
Yeah, it's been a true pleasure, Chef AJ. Like I said, my parents watch every one of your live streams, and so
except for today, I can't find your mom on the feed. That's so funny.
Today, so they'll be watching it in the post-recorded episode. So I really appreciate it. You're doing so much for the plant-based community, and you have done so much. Well,
thank you. And now I pass the torch to you young people, so I can enjoy my retirement in the desert.
Certainly.
All right. Take care, Gabriel. So nice to meet you. And guys, come back in 45 minutes when we have a great yoga teacher talking about the benefits of yoga, and 11 a.m. tomorrow for Dr. Joel Furman, and at 2 p.m. tomorrow for Nick the Vegan. Take care, Gabriel. Thanks again.
Thanks, Chef AJ.
Bye.